Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 10 of the Virtual San Diego Latino Film Festival and today's Q&A of Cine Ilusión shorts. It's actually our second to last shorts program of the film festival. We have one more later today, the headed shorts program, and then after that, we don't have any more short films until next year, which hopefully will be in an in-person event. Hoping there's something there. But thank you so much for watching the shorts. We hope you enjoyed them. We have an awesome group of filmmakers who are joining us today to talk a little bit about their films. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring them in one by one. Here we have Lucia, Elena, Ventura of Isla Mía.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We have Enrique Amur of Stunned I Remain Alert.
Hello.
How you doing? We have Federico Cuatlacuatul. Did I say that correctly? Sorry if I butchered it.
Yeah.
of Cuapana on Standby. And we have Sandra Cadena of Her Mother's Daughter.
Hi, hola.
And we have Al Diaz of Exhalation.
Hi.
Really quick, where are you all calling from? I think one of the coolest things about the virtual film festival is we get a chance to talk with filmmakers we probably wouldn't have a chance so if they didn't come to San Diego, if they didn't make the trip down. So where are you all calling from really quick?
I'm from here, actually. I'm from San Diego. Down 15 minutes, I guess. I'm in Chula Vista. So, but everything's really close there. So, yeah.
Okay, so you're really close. You're not that far.
Yeah. I'm calling from Brazil.
From Brazil? Okay, what part?
I'm in Manaus, which is in the middle of the Amazon rainforest.
Well, awesome. How about you, Al?
I'm calling from... Oh, sorry. Mm-hmm.
No.
Whichever. Let's go next. We'll go with Alejandra.
Sorry. I'm calling from San Francisco.
Okay.
Yes.
San Francisco.
I am from Galicia, in the northwest of the state.
Awesome. How about you, Federico?
I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Virginia.
Okay, Virginia. Wow. Okay, so we're all in different. Most of us are in different time zones. So Al, we won't keep you that long because I'm pretty sure it's pretty late out there, right?
Repeat, please, the time.
Here it's 3 p.m., but I don't know what time it is for you.
It's 12:15.
Wow.
A 12:15. Okay, so yeah. Well, to start off, I'm always interested in how the idea of a film comes about. What drives you to make that film or documentary? So I want to hear a little bit about that from you filmmakers. So why don't we start with Lucia, then we'll go down the line like that.
Sure. So Isla Mía is actually my thesis at California College of the Arts. I graduated in 2019 in animation program. And the way it came about, of course, we had to graduate with the thesis. But essentially, the point when it came to the conception of the film, I was learning a lot about Cuban history. I was in several classes, learning about Che Guevara and a lot of Latinx history I had never been exposed to growing up here in San Diego. I also went to Catholic school, so that's a whole other part of history that, not many people are exposed to, but to me it was my own little shelter world. But basically, bottom line, here in San Diego, I've always grown up because I'm Mexican Cuban, so I've always been more familiar with my Mexican heritage. My mom's Mexican, so I'm more versed in Mexican culture. And then when I went to the Bay Area, a lot of people asked me about my Cuban side, and for me that was a whole new territory because all I knew was like, if you're Cuban, you're my relative and you're probably like 70 years plus and you like good food. Like, so it was a lot of learning more about my culture, but also kind of like my experience with identity. And so my thesis was an original poem I wrote, how I felt about being Cuban, and was also like, how can I relay my entire identity in 5 minutes or less? And I struggled a lot with the writing. And then my teacher, who, because I'm very ambitious, so I had a lot of things going for inspirations and influences. My teacher's like, just like write it. Just like come back tomorrow, write it. Show me what you do, and then we'll see. And then I show him the next day, and he's like, we're doing this, period. Like, we're not going to do anything else. We're going to keep with this poem. And so then it kind of stemmed into experimental animation.
Awesome. Thank you. How about you?
My documentary is called Stunned I Remain Alert, and it's about a journalist and human rights activist called Jaime Azevedo, who was tortured by the military dictatorship in Brazil in the 70s. And his story was a bit well known in the newspapers here. And our subject, Jaime, he has Parkinson's disease. And when President Bolsonaro was elected in Brazil in 2018, we thought that this specific story should not be forgotten. So we needed to make this film. We really, we had this idea for like a couple of years, but we were always postponing it. But when Bolsonaro was elected, we really felt like we needed to tell this story, and it's a story about the past, but it's become very prescient about what's happening in Brazil right now, unfortunately.
Thank you. How about you, Al?
I wrote the idea 10 years ago when I was in the university, but I don't know how to make it, because the long shot in the air connected with the other shots. I'm past 10 years, and I do a lot of production in my country. I think when I made the short film, I know how to do it and do it.
Awesome, thank you. How are you, Alejandra?
And Her Mother's Daughter is the inspiration is of a personal story. Obviously, there is fiction in it as well. And this was a school project for my first year MFA program, actually at CCA as well. I just graduated 2020, May 2020, but my thesis, it was a completely different project. But yes, I mean, it came out of this. I thought when I was writing the script that it was a story about my mother and my sister, and I always saw them having these conflicts, and so I figured, it would be nice to put it in the screen and include a little bit of myself in it in the way of dance, since I come from a dance and theater background, and I wanted to make this story about this difficult relationship between mother and daughter, and everything expressed through movement and dance and the space around it. So I used the space as a character in the film, being that it was this beautiful but sterile and empty place where something is missing. And I felt, these two women have that too. They're beautiful from what you see, the way they move, the way they are, but something is missing about themselves. And so, so the inspiration came from there. And an interesting fact is that when I showed it to my mom, she actually said, "This is not your sister and I, this is you and me." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I thought it was about my sister. And my mom actually, for her perception, it was about us.
Thank you. How are you, Federico?
Yeah, my film was Cuapan on Standby, and my town, more than half my town has migrated to the U.S., and I'm constantly concerned if we're ever going to go back, and when that's going to be. And I'm also interested in transborder indigeneity and a lot of my community carrying that history and that identity in the various diasporas that we've settled in, right? So in 2019, I traveled to the various regions in the States where my community has settled, and I'm interested in how we are building identity based on geography and place, and how these geographies and places also build onto our identity. And so I traveled a lot through the West Coast, actually, as well, in the Bay Area. A lot of my community is there. I was a lot in the Midwest, and then also in New York. And so the film was more of an experimental approach on these kinds of questions, right? Living with the uncertainty of ever going back, and if ever that's going to happen or not.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask individual questions, but I'm gonna go backwards now. But so we'll start with Federico. In your film, I thought it was you bring. I think the lady who's speaking, I want to say the end or second to end, she brings up a very interesting point about like when I think their children now go back to Coapan. All right, she doesn't feel like they're gonna want to go back ever again, right? And I think that's an interesting and scary thought at the same time, because like you said, our culture, it changes your culture in a way, because there can be a loss there, right? But I wanted to talk a little bit about were the animations that you used, were they specific to the region that in Coapan's from, or were they just more general?
They were more general, right? So a lot of these animations are actually abstract, and that's kind of the emotions that we're dealing with right now. They're so abstract and really hard to express and even deal with, right, personally. And so how does that operate, or how does that exist in certain specific places and geographies? People are dealing with these emotions and these experiences very differently in New York versus, let's say, in the Bay Area, right, in San Francisco or Oakland, where a lot of the community is.
Wow, that's awesome. No, it's a tough topic. Very interesting.
It is. It was really emotional during the editing process. I mean, I was crying a few times just because a lot of these people are my family, and I was interviewing them, and we were just sharing the same experience, right, of dealing with this emotional flux of are we going? Kids don't want to go back. What is home? That disconnectedness, that feeling like of forced self-displacement also. So it is a lot, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. For Alejandra, had you shot dance films before? Because those movements were very, very fluid.
Thank you. No, actually, this is my first fiction film. This is my first dance film, but I thought it's something that I could do because, again, of my dance background, theater background, and of course, I hired a choreographer, and we had this conversation, as we were rehearsing about what I wanted in terms of the movements and the feeling behind each movement. And I mean, I was pretty much, I gave her the freedom to decide how to put the choreography, but I gave her some guidelines, just make sure that you use the room, make sure you use the furniture, make sure that you capture the frustration that is inside. You make sure that you have, these feelings of nostalgia and wishing for a better relationship when, in that dream scene, for example. So I was giving her some directions, but I pretty much wanted to give her the whole, the whole license to feel herself too and put her input into the film. And I was gonna say that in terms of casting these two beautiful women, I was very lucky that they are dancers, trained dancers, not necessarily trained actresses, but I think they put themselves 100% into the film. And even though they don't have an acting background, they, as a dancer, you perform, you want to bring your emotions out. So I think it played very nicely, and I'm very, very happy to the work that they did.
Yeah, they were amazing at expressing their feelings with their body language.
Yes.
Which was incredible. You used to see it in faces. I mean, first of all, you used to see it in dialogue. Really good actors do it in faces. So it was very interesting to see it in body language. Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about you? Your film was very reminiscent to me of the big sequence in Tree of Life, but yours was like a very like a small sliver of it, and it kind of extended, which is just like people actually. I think Tree of Life, they go through all of evolution, but you went through human, which was awesome.
Yes, I want to make a joint between the traveling on or the movement of the camera and the journey of life, and this is the main idea of the film. But in the beginning, I want to, for me, the beginning of every human is to exhalation, and in the end is exhalation too. And for me, it's more poetic, this connection between these two streams of the life. And this is basically the main idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I think there was a song I heard in Spanish once que it says, I think, de un suspiro llegamos y un suspiro nos vamos. So
yes, something similar, but I want to put them in 7 different parts, like 7 different parts of life and living.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shooting it in 7 different days around 1 year to put together everything like life, like you have different moments, like you have different memories.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you. Enrique, for your film, it was a very tough film, but I think it's a very important one. Not just, I mean, I think in Brazil, but also here in our country, like the political state that we are right now. There was especially that part where I think the gentleman's talking about how you can identify like a military coup d'etat now, and it starts giving you the stages, and I was like reading, and I was like, oh, like I was making connections with what's happening here right now, and I was just like, oh, that's kind of scary. That's really scary. But so I think it's a film that needs to. Unfortunately, a story that feels like it repeats itself in one country or another every few years, and I guess I just want to say, how has this been received in Brazil? I think you're muted.
I'm sorry. Right now, we are in the middle of tonight. Actually, it's the closing ceremony of one of Brazil's largest festivals, and we are running for some awards. So I'm quite happy with that. But it's only our second or third festival in Brazil, but I think it's actually foreign festivals have been selecting us way more than Brazil. But this festival right now that is happening, which is called Festival de Gramado, which is a huge platform for us, it's bringing a lot of attention. And because of this festival, there has been a lot of reviews and newspapers articles and everything. So it's bringing up a good amount of attention, not only to our film, but to our subject, who is Demi Azevedo and his story. And it's an important time right now. And with all that is happening, along with the pandemic, it's been good for the career of the film right now.
Yeah, but that's very good. That's very good. But yeah, I guess in a social setting, I was asking, are people responding to it well? Have you gotten any negative feedback from maybe people that don't believe in the views of the film or the views?
No, right now I don't think we haven't had any kind of harassment or anything from the right or people who don't believe in the military dictatorship, because I don't think they watch film festivals. I don't think they care much about what's happening in film festivals or anything. But now that it's getting a bit of a media attention, I don't know what's going to happen. But I don't care. They can come at me. Fuck them. I'm sorry.
No, thank you for your film. Like I said, it's really important. I think not just folks in Brazil, but like people here need to see it too. People everywhere that need to see stuff about these subjects. You know, Lucia. As for you, you said that this was your thesis, but I guess you focus on animation. But have you always been interested in mixing animation with like live action, like you did with this short?
Yes, this is actually, if we're getting technical, this is not my first time mixing live action with animation.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at CCA, I took a film class because I guess a lot of my CCA education experience, it was if I didn't seek it out myself, like I would just stay blissfully ignorant. And so I did a lot of like seeking out or just like self-learning. And so I was really, one movie I take a lot of inspiration from is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, just because of the technical prowess they did during that time. And even if you watch it now, it just seems so seamless. So I wanted to mimic something like that. So in that class, I did something similar. It was very, again, ambitious. I never finished the film, but maybe one day I'll revisit it. But I kind of, when I approached the thesis, I kind of had that same inspiration to go with live action and animation, especially because I'm using Celia Cruz as kind of like a vehicle to start the film. And to me, Celia Cruz is one of my heroes, as well as kind of like, for me, the namesake of like being Cuban. Like for her, she went through a lot, and like people not accepting her as fully Cuban, especially being Afro-Cuban. And I kind of, even though our identity experiences are not the same, especially with me being Hispanic descent Cuban, but I feel a lot of connection with her and kind of just fighting to like take up space and to kind of just like use your voice and whatever it means. So she's kind of like my weird Cuban guardian angel to like take me through the identity journey.
Awesome, thank you. I wanted to ask a little bit about your pre-production for this film, for the documentary filmmakers. What was that like? I know it's always hard. I guess pre-production for you two is mostly getting the subject and comfortable with the camera, kind of listening to their stories, and maybe even having them repeat it more and more as because sometimes they'll say it, but you don't have your camera on, or maybe you're always recording. I'm not sure. And for the other ones, why don't you talk a little bit about just pre-production itself, like any challenges you might have had, any successes, maybe things just fell together perfectly. I feel like every film is different. So this one I'll just call out random people, and then whoever raises their hand afterwards can go next. So we'll start with you, Alejandra, for this one.
The pre-production, it was a little bit challenging because like I said, this is my first fiction film, and I wanted to do it well, you know, as better as good of a project as I could possibly imagine. So I decided to look for people outside of the school. So I put a notice on Facebook, and here within the Bay Area. In the Bay Area, there is these Facebook pages of people that are in the film industry. So I just put the story, and I told them anybody is interested. It says this is that log line, and thank goodness there was a lot of response. And so my concern was that, okay, yes, I got all of these people interested, but then are they really gonna show up the day that I actually shouldn't, because I never met them before. You know, I never had this interaction or anything. So I was like crossing fingers that they will come. So they showed up. It was a 3-day shooting, and I was so thankful. Everybody was very professional and 100% given to the project. But then the second day I was the same thing. Hopefully they come back, but they did. And then they did. So, it was just like, that was just amazing, to put your trust on the universe that you're going to find people that actually are passionate about filmmaking, and that I was able to do it. And another one is that my DP, he came all the way from Paris to shoot my film. Wow. And it was this guy that I met at the San Francisco Dance Festival. And I like one little piece of he did. And so I reached him out. I went to him. I said, you know what? I really like this. Do you mind if I have your email address? Maybe someday in the future we collaborate. But the idea came, I say to myself, who knows? Maybe give it a chance. Maybe he says yes. So I sent him an email. I sent him the script, and he got interested, and he actually came. But then, this being a student film, I say, I cannot pay the big, I don't have the big budget, but you can always, stay at my place. Meals are included, and of course, I pay you for your work as well. But it's I want to know if you're interested. So he was, and that was kind of nice to somebody. I have my DP all the way from Paris. Yeah.
That's awesome. Across the Atlantic for you.
Yes.
Yeah, anybody would like to go next? If not, I'm gonna call on you. All right, we'll go.
I could.
No, we'll go with Al.
Wait, me or
I'm sorry. I was coughing here. I didn't understand. Did you call me?
Oh no, I was calling Al.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
sorry. For me, the pre-production, it was very easy because for this reason to separate every shooting in 7 different days. But I think the thing more funny for me to prepare in the pre-production is like the babies and the fetus growing in the beginning, because we made a lot of models, different models, like 7 different models, and construct all the background and the light, and was very funny, and everything is real. There are nothing of the post-production. It's everything constructing. And in pre-production was very difficult to contact with the main actress, Ángela Molina, because she's very, very famous in Spain. Is like a star. She worked with Buñuel in his her first movie.
Oh wow!
But when we met her, it was very, very, very easy. A pleasure to work with her.
Wow, awesome! Thank you. Who'd like to go next? Go.
Sure, I'll share some. Yeah. Yeah. I guess for me it was trying to stage everything so that way when I would arrive at specific houses, whether it was family or friends across the country, I would have to talk to them and let them know that this wasn't a normal visit. This wasn't like, let's pop a beer and just hang out, right, and catch up as family, but trying to explain the project and also trying to get access to their jobs to get footage where everybody works, right? And for me, the intention was to not necessarily capture the exploitation or the working conditions, because we already know that. We already know that migrants here are the backbone of this country, right? But I was more interested in that as identity texture. And so a lot of that actually was not possible. That was my original plan for the film, to be able to capture these jobs and be able to kind of build identity texture through that, right? What is everybody working in? How has everyone assimilated and been able to adapt to specific regions across the country? And so that's why I decided to shoot a lot of landscapes and also a lot of interior spaces. My uncle actually just opened up his pizza restaurant in New York, and I had a full night there of just gathering footage in there. But it was also this balance of let's let's talk about these concerns that we all share as immigrants, and how can I capture this through video, right? And the whole process was also very sensitive to what I could include and what I couldn't include in terms of the video and audio recordings as well. So I almost feel like that pre-production and production really converged as a whole process. It was kind of both happening simultaneously.
Awesome. Thank you. How about you, Lucia?
For me, because of course I'm still in school while I'm writing this and doing everything, it was a lot of just writing and learning. But also, since it was my first time taking just a full experimental approach, I really was just like, I'm just gonna make a Pinterest board, put, you know, all the influences, things that just kind of gravitate towards me for storytelling, and just kind of gather all those influences together. And then once I hit production phase, then just start kind of planning. But pre-production, of course, is just writing and storyboarding. I also had a really great mentor, F. David Myers, who really great storyboard artist, and like he helped me with the writing, also storyboarding. So definitely the longest and trickiest part was just making the hard decisions of what to keep, or like what feels true, and then what I could just kind of do without, especially because I was really ambitious, and like I just wanted to be like this vision I had in my head. And then that was one thing I learned, that's like just make really concise and really critical decisions. I'm pretty happy with how it came to be. Of course, in the thick of it, I was like, it's not what I want. Like, I'll just turn away. Don't want to look at it. And then seeing how it was received, I was like, no, I think I'm doing good, even though it feels uncomfortable. But I know I'm going through the right direction.
Thank you. How about you, Enrique?
We didn't have too much of pre-production because we were in contact with our subject, and we had our a little bit of research. But as I told you before, we were postponing this project until Bolsonaro was elected. And we actually, like a week after Bolsonaro was elected, we got into an airplane, went to São Paulo, and filmed me. And it was really just something that we needed to do at that time. And that's what we used in the film. We actually had a second day of shooting, like a month later, that we did pre-production for that, and none of it got into the picture. So what we used, it was off the cuff, off the moment, that we just went in there. And we didn't know what kind of film we were doing. We just needed the interview to find our picture later. And we found it on post-production.
Oh, wow. No, yeah, it was a lot of incredible footage. Well, that leads to I guess leads me to our next question. I think all of you take a different approach in telling a story and telling your film than what it is like typical filmmaking. It's not just for the documentary filmmakers. It's not just put a camera in front of the subject and let him story and then cut back to something else. For the narrative filmmakers, is also kind of pushing the limits of what will make a viewer comfortable, or will make them will make the viewer comfortable. So I want to know if this is what you usually do as a filmmaker. Is this your style? If it's your first time, are you looking into exploring this a little more? Or if you were to do it again, would you do anything different? So I'm gonna start calling people. So we'll go with Enrique. We're gonna start with you this time.
Okay, so my film, it's heavily with archival footage, and there's all kinds of archival footage in there, all kinds of videos, and there is film, there is digital, there is VHS, there's stuff my dad shot, there's stuff Brazilian politics, the Brazilian TV department shot, there's stuff that was clandestine shot, there's stuff from Muybridge, and but I'm not a director first and foremost. I'm a researcher. So for me, that came naturally. That I directed this film along with Lucas Rossi dos Santos, and he's a director, and he wanted me to direct this with him because he was very interested in these archival footages. So that's why we did it together. So for me and for him also right now, this is like something that we really want to explore more.
Yeah, it was. You see films with archives, but it almost felt like a memory. As I was watching it, like it really felt like he was talking about his memories, but with all the archival footage, it felt like a memory to me. Like I was watching someone's memory, which was
Yeah, we really didn't want to be like this illustrative and only show things about what he's talking about. We also show things about what he's talking about, but we also wanted to be a bit more lyrical about it, and we wanted to make a film about the deterioration of memory, and we used deterioration of film as a metaphor for that. And I think it was pretty well done.
oh, great. We'll go with Al next.
For me, I have only 3 short films, and they are completely different. The first one, I think, is the more crazy because the duration is 12 minutes and it has 2,000 cuts or something similar. Wow. It's totally crazy about a violinist playing Paganini, and there are equivalents between the different notes with the different cuts of the movie, and it's very crazy. I like too much, but it's totally crazy. The second one is other path, completely different. Is with the Super 8 of my family, because my family worked in the circus in the 70s. Okay. And there are a lot of material found footage, and I make a documentary essay with this material. Okay. And it's completely different. I speak a lot in this movie all the time. I think it's too much. and this one is other thing. Mm-hmm. to the one and the second. Okay. And now I have another project, but this is more narrative because it's a conventional script, people talking, but I try to make another way this part.
Add a little bit of your flavor and your style to it. How did that timeline look? Your editing timeline for the first film, was it just like crazy? Clip one after the other?
Yeah, the timeline is completely crazy. And we spend a lot of time with the music, because there are a lot of things to do. I think we spent 6 months in editing.
Oh wow, that's amazing! I would like to see that. I want to. How about you, Lucia?
For me, this is my first complete short film, so I'm pretty stoked, pretty happy about it. But right now, well, I definitely have plans on working on more short films, especially because after kind of completing this and doing my first film festival run, I volunteered at film festivals before, so being on the filmmaker side was really fun. It was definitely a new experience, and I really liked it. So I definitely think I'm going to pursue to be kind of an independent filmmaker while trying to get into the animation industry. But I definitely learned a lot from doing experimental animation, and I think using kind of methods or influences for experimental animation is something I could like embed in my work. So I'm excited. I'm working on a short film for the rest of the year, so I'm excited to see what I do with it.
Awesome. Thank you. How about you, Alejandro?
Well, like I said, you have to do everything at least once, right? Try once something. So this was my one try of doing fiction, but I lean more towards documentary filmmaking. I have a short story also that I've been doing some festival circuits about my passion for running, but eventually that is actually where I would like to go, more documentary filmmaking. However, I also like to experiment, and as a creative, myself, I like to try different things. So right now I'm working on a 3-channel installation piece, which was my thesis project, but it's not quite finished. So I want to continue refining it, a few little details here and there. And my plan is to have it into that as an installation piece, as well as a 1-channel project, so that I can submit it for festivals and everything as an experimental film. And it will be about identity. Actually, we're talking a lot about identity here, so it will be about identity, my identity as a Mexican, and how even though you move to different places, how your memory, yourself is still you are still part of where you come from, but at the same time you evolve and you transform, but you're still yourself. So it's within those. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you. How about you, Federico?
Yeah, I relate a lot to what's been said with Alejandra and Enrique, and filmmaking as more of a hybridity kind of practice. I tend to think of myself as a visual artist first, and then a filmmaker, and so I always describe filmmaking as un artista que se tropieza con el cine, no? An artist that stumbles with film, and it's been actually super useful in my practice. Right, I was doing a lot of video art. And now it's been kind of more formalized into these short films that have circulated film festivals and operate on this kind of platform. But it's also been really interesting to find these tools and with a new kind of a scope and approach, and be able to push the form, right? And in a way, I really see myself almost like as a painter or a sculptor, working with these mediums and tools and approaching filmmaking that way.
Awesome. I have to ask, before all of this happened, I was really excited to see all of your films in a big screen. And I was ready, but we had to cancel. COVID happened. So I was wondering, did any of you have a chance to watch your films in the big screen? I think all of them would have been amazing, but Al, I think yours would have been like visually stunning on the big screen. Did you have a chance to play that in Spain?
Yeah, I think this is the 100 selection of the film.
Okay. Oh wow!
Yesterday was the 100 selection of the film.
Wow.
And because I have a distribution company in Spain. The name is Jack Distribution. And we are the one of the biggest for short films in Spain. Okay. And move a lot the piece. And yes, I think it's designed to see in the cinema. Mm-hmm. Because the format is the idea to project them and to listen. I think the more important is to listen in the space. Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of time mixing the meaning of the sound around.
Yeah. Anybody else have a chance to play in cinema?
No, but my film is actually accepted into another film festival, which is going to be playing in 2021, March 2021. So I'm hoping by then things are open. Yeah, right now it's in other festivals, but it's all virtual, unfortunately. Mm-hmm.
The only time I could watch my film on the cinema was when I was testing my DCP, and because I think it was in February or something, and we were testing the DCP because we also it really sucks because we did this audio design that it's really we think it's really powerful, but it's a really low sound, really bass sound. And if you watch the film in a laptop, it sucks so much because you don't hear the sound design we did in the movie theater. It was huge, and the whole movie trembled, and that's what we wanted. And nobody's watching like that, so that's terrible. But we do what we can.
I'm sorry, but did anybody? Just got it?
Well, for me, I saw it at TCA upon graduating for the animation program, as well as like the university-wide graduation class. But yeah, this would have been my like first big like cinema silver screen showing. But there'll be next time. I have hope. So
Yeah. Yes, definitely. No. How about you, Federico? Did you get a chance to watch Copan on Standby? On big screen?
Yeah, I did a couple times. Well, I released the film in spring 2019, so I got to see a premiere in Oklahoma University, and then a few times also in Mexico and the Oaxaca Film Fest a couple times, and the Quetzalcoatl Indigenous Film Fest in Oaxaca as well. So I'm glad I got to see that. So it's been a weird switch into the virtual formats, right? To see your screen on there, and you're kind of like just hoping people's speakers are good and their internet is good, right? Because you lose the experience. You lose the experience, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's been a challenge even doing the live Q&As. I mean, even for I think everybody's internet connection is different. For myself, my internet went out at some point. Luckily my colleague was also in the Q&A, so he was able to stay in, and I just jumped in when he came back.
I was nervous because my film falls into experimental part just enough where some of these glitches almost seem like intentional. Yeah.
I want to tell you a quick story right now that you bring that up, actually, before we head out. One time, a couple years ago, we were playing a film at the festival, and it was also kind of experimental. And it was like the complete last screen of the film festival that year. And, it was like, yeah, we're like, all right, it was been a great weekend. We didn't have any technical problems with like 40 films in a weekend. There's one to have a problem. But it was playing great. Like, no one has come out to complain about anything. It's good. It's good. 20 minutes later, someone comes out and says there's no sound in the movie. But everybody thought that it was like that because it was an experimental film. So for 20 minutes, people were watching this silent film.
oh no.
And then yeah, so we restarted all over again. But at least everybody was okay with it. That was good part. Before we leave, does anybody have any final comments? Anything you want to let the audience know? The two of the filmmakers did share their social media, so if you guys want to watch Stun I Remain Alert, I recommend it. Follow it on Facebook. The best thing we can do for filmmakers is share their work, share their stories. So if you have a chance to watch these films, tell your friends and family about it. The more we give them recognition and we uplift their voices, the more filmmaking they get to do. So maybe we will help him get distribution. Not out because he already has distribution, but maybe we'll help him get funding for the next film or something like that. So yeah. So any other comments?
Just thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. This was so fun. I'm so glad I get to be a part of it.
Yeah, and thank you to Ethan. I haven't met Ethan, but Moises, I met you, Juan, but Ethan, say thank you.
Oh, I'll let Ethan know. Yes, Ethan's our executive director, and the founder of the festival.
Yeah, thank you so much, Juan, for all the work, and yeah, it's been an amazing week of films. But this has also been really fun. I guess it makes us feel connected, even though we're physically disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I was saying in the beginning, the best part is that we get to see and talk to other filmmakers, even though they're far away. Well, hopefully next time we have you back at the San Diego Film Festival, but this time in person.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
We can all have fun.
I just want to congratulate Lucia and that like two female filmmakers, and let's keep going, right? Let's keep going.
Always.
And thank you to the guys also for supporting female filmmakers. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And there was another one, but she wasn't able to log in today. But I don't know if you guys saw Pasajeros en Trance.
Yes, I loved
that
that
was also
one.
a great film. But yeah, so you guys should check her film out too. But thank you again so much. Hope to see you guys in 2021, maybe in the future here in San Diego in person. We'll drink a beer, have a tequila shot.
Yes.
And relax. Watch some film.
Now you're talking.
Bye, guys. Thank you
so
very
much,
much.
everybody. Have a good night.
Bye. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Nice to meet you.
You too.